Shalom, shalom. Man, I'm going to say something that's going to sound alarming, and is going to break down the misconception people have of marriage. Men and women have been brainwashed, indoctrinated, and programmed to think that marriage is about happiness. And that's not what it's about. Roll that footage.
The man who I'd want to get would be the man that I probably wouldn't want. Because the man I would want to get would be a family man and safe. And he may come off kind of boring to other women. But to me, he would be safe and loving and a family man. And he would be my boring and my man. But the man who I find attractive, this big old hunk of a chocolate type of man, he's a man that I would want if I was
the bad boy.
If me be blunt, if I was into casual sex, I want him. I want him to fly me out. I want to do some things with him. I'm going to do some things that he could never imagine. I'm going to turn him in and turn him out.
Women actually start to get serious about settling down. They often don't target attractive men. This is because attractive men are too hard to wrangle. They enjoy too much optionality, and they either are not willing to pay the costs associated with entering into a quiet domestic life, or the particular woman proposing said life does not represent a sufficiently attractive option for them. So when women are really serious about getting married, they often target less attractive men because boy, oh boy, are they easy pickings.
That one more time?
I said, I am trying to have my first child with you. And I promise you, we can get married first, then we can have a child, and I'll treat you right.
Oh, okay.
So do we got a deal or not?
We'll see.
I don't want to live with my husband. I want him to live like down the hall.
Yeah, same.
And like sleep in separate rooms?
Mm-hmm.
Go away.
I would turn.
No,
I
that's
would turn
1950.
that side of the house into a dual master. So knock down that wall between those. That's your side. That's my side. You can come stay with me whenever. I can come stay with you, whatever. But we have separate spaces, separate bathrooms, separate.
Throughout the day, I'm trying to read a
Not
book.
necessary.
I'm trying to drink. I'm trying to do the things that I do. I want to play and make up. I don't have time for you coming around here
just
talking.
being around.
Shut the fuck up.
Would y'all marry again?
Oh, hell no.
I would.
Oh, damn. Why does the man saying hell no and the woman saying I would?
I would.
Anytime I went to a bar, like even when I was like 21, 22, whatever, I go to a bar and there'd be like an older guy at the bar or whatever. But an older man would always tell, like if he'd be like, you married, you got kids? And if I ever said no, he would be like, never get married. Like an older man has never came to me at any point of my development as a man and ever said, man, you should really get married.
I was raised to get married.
So
That's
was
all I
but listen,
heard.
these older men you meet that are at the bar, not with their wife at night, none of them are ever like, yeah, man, you
Well,
should
they're at the
be
bar for a reason.
Right,
They're trying
no,
to
for
drown
sure.
their sorrows because they got married to somebody that they don't love
Don't
anymore.
do that. Maybe they, what Tom's describing and the wife.
Yeah, maybe they're dealing with what Tom was talking about. So now they're...
We get told not to do it by so many.
So,
like seeing Tom say hell no.
Well, but I'm saying hell no because of my age and I've been through it and it has not been necessarily a good thing and I'm enjoying my life now.
Got you. Okay.
All praise to the Most High Yah Shalom. Thank you for tuning in to another Righteous Spirit-filled episode. Today I'm back at it in them trenches handling that kingdom business. Now, man, women are sold this fairy tale of what marriage should be, starting from young girls. And when they get inside of marriage, they're unprepared oftentimes for what marriage is. Your righteous women, your set-apart, Yah-fearing, commandment-keeping women understand the assignment, and marriage is not even easy for them. So as a lawless, reprobate, iniquity-working woman, you are ill-prepared for marriage, and you're going to be chasing happiness in the marriage. And nowhere in marriage, nowhere in the Bible was marriage about that. Man, as a man, a married man, happiness is not on my mind. Listen to what I'm saying. Happiness is not on my mind. Happiness is not on my mind because I am at peace with the purpose of marriage. I am at peace with the obligations, the responsibilities the investment that marriage is. I'm at peace with it. Okay, let me give you a little bit further understanding. Man, marriage between a man and a woman under the Most High Yah is righteous. It's considered righteous. Just in marriage, when a man says, you know what, man, I want this woman to be my wife, and he takes her. That's what marriage is. That's why a man asks a woman to marry him. He takes her as his wife. Man, you're free of fornication. Everybody else out there, man, whether it be, I want you to think about, Hasatan has a monopoly right now on fornication where people don't want to get married. He has a monopoly on it. So girlfriend and boyfriend, I'm casually dating, I'm just kind of out here vibing, fornication if you're laying down having sex. So you never can have protection from that apart from marriage. Okay? Now, married people that enter into marriage, let me tell you something, man. If you are a man and you're entering into marriage thinking you're going to have the same amount of sex you were having when you were fornicating, man, you fooled yourself. Because the responsibilities, the tasks, the obligations, man, those are going to suck up your time to where, you will engage in sexual activity, but you don't have time to be a bunny rabbit just focused on humping all the time. Just don't have it. Not if you're living up to the full expectation of marriage. Statistically, look at how many marriages are, without sex. Think about that. You look statistically, man, the average married couple has sex like once a month. If that's a high amount. But as men, man, you got to choose, your hard. I'm going to just say it like that. You got to choose your hard. Now, unrighteousness, wickedness, lawlessness, transgression, iniquity is going to seem like a lot more fun. It's going to seem easier. But, man, that's going to cost you your life. The book tells you, man, fornicators will not inherit the kingdom. Man, Hasatan attacks married men, like 10x. He attacks married men like 10x. The marriage bed, when you think about the Most High Yah not wanting the marriage bed defiled, Hasatan's goal is to try to defile the marriage bed. Why do you think there's so many videos out there of married women, getting enticed to go on these girls' trips, and it's usually by other lawless women, other unrighteous women that introduce them to this stuff, and then their marriage bed becomes defiled because they're doing y'all knows what on these trips? Why do you think that it seems like, as a woman, if you're married, why do you think it's always like a harlot will position herself around married men? A harlot or a promiscuous woman always wants to be seen by a married man. A married man is like the grand prize for the lawless. A married woman is like, you think about, let me give you an example. You think about Usher Raymond, who has failed at multiple marriages. Why is this man always up there entertaining women that belong to somebody else? Why? Because a married woman is the prize to the lawless. Let's get this woman to break her agreement. Let's get this man to step outside the boundaries and tear up his house. Man, nobody talks about marriage being spiritual warfare. Marriage, I want you to understand, man, when you are single, you don't have to worry about waking up to nobody and they got an attitude, Hasatan, then attack them the minute they wake up. And you like, what's wrong with you? I didn't even do it. Marriage is spiritual warfare, But men, man, we have a great duty and righteousness to fulfill. Man, our job is to wash women with the word so they can be found without spot or blemish. If no men step up to that assignment, man, the generations of women will be defiled and unclean. There won't be none within your generations. Nobody said, the book doesn't say that she is going to come to you and submit to you while you washing her with the word. The hardest part is getting her to see, the blessings in the word that you're washing her with, so she can realize, okay, I actually need this cleansing. I actually need this word. Man, videos and clips like the ones that I played, I talk about this stuff so men truly understand what they're getting themselves into. People don't understand why I talk about the biblical principles of a husband and of a wife, so people know what they're getting themselves into. I tell women all the time, man, if you're not willing to submit, if you're not willing to be cooperative, if you're not, willing to be modest, meek, to be prudent, man, you have no business entering into a marriage, because while you're out there living in sin, that becomes your comfort zone and it becomes your place of happiness. And then you get in an environment where structure and discipline and accountability is required. All of a sudden, you're like, man, I'm bored and I'm unhappy. And this is why, when you think about it, this is why in that video, women was talking about, okay, I want my husband to sleep down the hall. I wanted him to sleep in different beds. Bro, that's a reality for some men. They're having to try to wash women with the word like that. You know how much of let me go get into some light. You know how much of a headache that is? But that's the assignment, man. And this is why I am constantly, constantly telling men, man, you need to truly take time and discern the woman that you take as your wife. You may be expecting a standard and her to fall in line with a structure that women in her family are not even close to familiar with for 3-4 generations. This modern day woman is the result of, 2 to 3 to 4 generations of rebellious women and women rebelling against men. Your great grandmother, who was a great wife to your great grandpa, that generation is long gone for the average woman. That time is long gone. And if these women have not seen an example of what, a healthy marriage or environment looks like, this is why they're unhappy when they get into these environments. I want you to understand, man, marriage is spiritual warfare. And, people sign up for this stuff thinking it's all white dresses and all this and all that. And it's about the honeymoon and it's about the where we going overseas and trap. You got more women thinking they're signing up. I'm signing up. I want a husband so I can travel. I want a husband to buy me this. And then they find out, oh, snap, the man can't do this because he's actually being the provider for you where you never had one as a single woman. And man, I know I become the enemy because I speak the truth, but society has gassed up women to think marriage is something that it's not, and it starts at an early age when they're getting programmed by the Cinderella, all of this nonsense, and that's not what it is. The reality is men are dealing with women like we saw in that clip. And this is why I said, man, men, if you're not choosing a commandment-keeping, Yah-fearing woman, you need to be at peace with the fact that you chose not the best baseline of a wife to build with. And man, the onus is on you because your leadership is getting evaluated. How you lead her up out of that mess that you selected her in, man, you're being evaluated for that. The Most High Yah is judging you. Okay, you took this woman. How further did you get her in the marathon? Or most men that sign up for marriage thinking it's going to be all sex, it's going to be all this fun and all of this, and they don't understand the assignment and they cut these women off way too soon. because they couldn't get her from point A to B. You got to think, man, we got to get her to the other end of the alphabet. We got to get her from the state where you found her at to where we've washed her with the word and found without spot or blemish. And most men give up at B or C when it gets difficult. Oh, I'm not happy. Man, you find me something in the book where it talks about married people, being happy. Man, you're getting spiritually attacked on a daily basis. Your spouse leaves the home, Hasatan is plotting on them, trying to break up, that umbrella of protection from fornication that you have. Think about it. You got to think, Hasatan will attack your woman to where, okay, let me give you an example. Man, when she was single, and unmarried and potentially racking up bodies, man, she was giving it up left and right to men that provided nothing for men that protected her in no way spiritually, men that did nothing for her. She'd give it up left and right because these men, these sinful men, provoked a stimuli in her that made her feel good, that gave her the deception of happiness. And here you come, good provider, good protector, doing what you're supposed to do, good husband, good father, dependable, reliable, and it seems like that thing dries up. That's the way Hasatan attacks the woman. You got to understand, man, when you see these women saying this, man, the Most High Yah tells you the woman is the weaker vessel. She's prone to attacks. And as a man, man, if you are not praying over your woman, man, if you're not giving her the guidance, demonstrating impeccable leadership, man, marriage is going to be painful. Marriage is going to be painful for a lot of men. When a man, gets into a marriage and selects a wife and thinks that, okay, man, I'm supposed to be getting this sex every day because when I was in fornication, I was getting sex every day. I had a rotation. You're going to find out the hard way. You're going to find out the hard way. That's not the way it is. That's not the way it is. But you have to be at peace as a man, man. I find great peace in doing and fulfilling the will of Yah. And when you think about the word being a living sacrifice of what he commands us to do, man, to be a sacrifice is preparing yourself for death. You're not going to be happy about that. Your flesh is going to have certain cravings as a man. Your flesh is going to have certain temptations. Man, if you have to have the Ruach HaKodesh in you to be able to subdue all of that, because if not, man, your marriage ain't going to work. You're going to be in constant tribulation. And man, there's nothing more that Hasatan, wants from you as a man than for you to fulfill the desires of your flesh. You got to think about it. Women today have no understanding or biblical comprehension about what adultery is. It's cheating, infidelity, and all of those got different meanings, got different etymologies. So when you think about the state-issued marriage license, women are divorcing men because they are unhappy. You don't even have to cheat on a woman for her to divorce you. So, men that fulfill the desires of their flesh go out there and have all these side pieces and all of this, though you're not committing adultery, when it comes to the marriage license that you signed up for, man, you're going to be found guilty. And that's another way Hasatan is using that and exploiting that to tear up your home. Marriage is spiritual warfare. It's spiritual warfare on another level. You got to understand, Hasatan doesn't have to attack you as hard if you already on his side. If you already out there living sexually immoral, living as a fornicator, living as a whoremonger, living as a harlot, he don't have to attack you as hard because you're already doing his will by following your flesh, the sinful desires of your flesh. But here you are, wanting to get married, wanting to do it right, man. You better know what you're signing up for. You better know what you're signing up for, because it's not all peaches and cream. As a man, like most men don't know what to do when they see their wife battling with something and she needs some deliverance. She needs some deliverance because she's being spiritually attacked. Most men just sum it up as she's crazy, she's delusional, she done lost her mind. How did I not see this? You probably didn't see it in the beginning because it may not have manifested because she wasn't getting attacked as hard as she is now that she is married. But this is where your leadership comes in. This is where your righteousness comes in as a man. You know, how are you, you know, when it comes to your husbandry, how are you dressing the vines that you have dominion over? How are you subduing and having dominion over the things that the Most High Yah has told you to? Your woman is one of them. You see what I'm saying? And I told men, man, you have you got some hard choices to make as a man if you have chose a woman that doesn't fear the Most High Yah. If you chose a woman who doesn't keep the commandments, marriage is going to be extremely hard. A Yah-fearing, commandment-keeping woman is righteous. A lot of men think they're safe because they choose a religious woman. Oh, you think you're safe because you chose a Christian woman. A Christian woman believes the doctrine of Christianity that the law is done away with. So therefore, she has no shame or no guilt about living lawless, about living in transgressions. And this is, as a man, this is what you signed up for. You know, I tell men all the time, bro, you need to truly, make your marital agreement apart from the state. You know, don't make your marital agreement, up under the state. Don't enter into a covenant with the state to where they become the head. You make your own agreement and you vet her out according to the word of Yah. Your eyes are going to fool you. You know, that woman that looks like, okay, when you see her out there, she's living her best life. And here's the thing. Men get deceived by not doing what the book says. And what happens is we're used to this girlfriend-boyfriend culture where you're fornicating prior to marriage, and then you get married and then you think you're good. Yeah, you're free from fornication, but because how you entered into that union, man, you might experience a drought. Maybe she was so freaky and all on top of you because of what you were doing was sin. And sin is enticing to the flesh. Righteousness is not appealing to the flesh. Contrary to popular belief, living righteous and set apart is not something your flesh wakes up and wants to do. So you can't even approach her on, having sex is a duty she ain't trying to hear that. She remembers the dopamine rush of, living in sin, living in fornication. Old people used to call it shacking up. But the minute you set things in order, this is where men find out, oh, snap, she wasn't prepared for this environment. She's outside of her comfort zone. This is why I've told men time and time again, man, your selection in women or your selection in choosing a wife, man, is one of the biggest decisions you will make as a man. You choose a bad woman as a wife, man, she's going to be a bad mother. Like you got to understand, in order to enter into the next level of hood, you have to choose a woman who actually knows how to be a righteous adult. And if you don't choose a woman that knows how to be a righteous adult, how can you expect her to be a lawless, form of adulthood, but yet expect righteousness in parenthood? So we got to make sure we're lining this thing up, the way the book tells us to. And when the Most High Yah is giving us some guidance, man, it's not a recommendation. Men find themselves men think it's just a recommendation. Well, I really don't have to do that. And you find out the hard way. And very few men have the stomach, have the huspers, have the intestinal fortitude to, drive through the time of spiritual warfare and spiritual attack to continue steadfastly in praying and fasting for their wives in order for them to be delivered out of what they're going through. Most men give up way too soon. You give up way too soon Because what do you want to do? You want to be out there fulfilling the lust of your flesh, because in your mind you remember, oh snap, man, when I was prior to married, man, I had them all on me, man. But it was all on me like flies, you know. I had them lined up prior to marriage, man. You know, I went on a deployment and then came back and got married. So I had about 9 months of abstinence of getting myself prepared. But prior to that, man, I probably had a woman in my bed every night, a different woman in my bed every night. I was the fornicator of all fornicators. And when you think you're going to enter into marriage and it's going to be on and popping like that, man, boy. But you didn't fool yourself, you know. And men must understand this. Once you understand the fullness of the assignment in marriage, you know, you appreciate sex a lot more, but it's not the sole purpose of marriage. And a lot of men, you know, like I said, they divorce because of sexless marriage. They divorce because of the things that women, like in that clip, were saying. And they're truly not understanding, okay, dang, bro, I didn't choose a good candidate for this. You know, when you think about the Olympic team, they don't choose people that have no skills or capabilities in the event that they will be competing in. No, they choose people that are very well trained, very well educated, very talented, you know, capable of performing. But as men, man, we choose women that ain't qualified, that have no training, you know, that have no rule book, you know, don't want the guidance, and we'll give her the title of a wife and wonder why we suffer. When you think about biblically how rare a virtuous woman is, you look society at how many people are married. When you look at society at how many, you know, people are married, how many individuals are married, man, I want you to think about, if the Most High Yah said a virtuous woman is rare, how many of these married women are far from virtuous? And this is what we're dealing with. This is why that clip is so important. You know, as a man, I don't encourage you to get married because you're chasing for happiness or you think it's going to lead to the utmost happiness. You got a rude awakening. You got to be at peace with the assignment. Marriage is an assignment for a woman and a man. Okay, prior to marriage, when you are a single woman, you don't have to submit to no man. You don't have to be modest. You don't have to be prudent. But soon as you enter into marriage, that's when the assignment starts. That's when you're getting evaluated. That's when you're getting critiqued. You see what I'm saying? Men need to understand what the assignment is and be at peace with it. Marriage is a lot easier when you are at peace with it. You know, man, your woman is when you feel like relaxing and resting, something's gonna go wrong. And it's going to be a test of your faith, a test of what you believe as a man, to see if you have the energy and the willpower to answer the call to what she needs you for. What good are you as a man if she can't depend on you? So in order to be dependable, you got to do some dependable type stuff. And oftentimes there's no happiness in it, but you got to be at peace with it as a man. Closer to Y'all Ministries, kicking it gun barrel straight.